her parents really treated us very well. And her parents actually were the bridesmaid and best man and bridesmaid of our wedding. So they really took good care of us. And when I received email from 11, since 11, very much like Taiwan, there's a movie called EE, right? But I have more interesting thing to share with you. Grace has, my wife, Grace has a nephew. He's extremely bright, but in a very different way. But when he went to school for mathematics, the teacher asked him, what is 1 plus 1? He said 1, 1. Okay, the following I try to use Taiwan 用台湾的讲法，就是可能来讲无是唱关调。这头一个是这个 Judith Thomas Dr. Thomas 来讲，伊头伊是讲，伊这个虽然这个已经40年久啊，总是伤长，也毋是讲遐久啦。伊即摆是要来甲你讲，甲咱大家分享讲伊做这个代志。其实是因为去台湾以前，伊根本就唔知会去台湾，因为迄个时阵，这个卫理公会，Methodist 卫理公会是甲中国这边较有关系。尤其国民党蒋介石、宋美龄拢是卫理公会的人，所以伊开始学北京话。总是迄个时阵，这个政治的情形变临时真短时间解放军来台湾，所以对台湾的代志根本无啥了解，总是开始去研究去看者，去问人安尼啦。伊上最是知影讲台湾过去有日本管尾这个国民党因为走共产党。走来台湾安尼，迄个时阵，咱台湾上大声一句就是 "We are free China"， 我是真自由的中国。其实因来台湾无偌久就知影讲台湾无自由，毋是中国。伊迄阵拄着一个长老会，要去以前啊，一个长老会迄个传教士 George Thomas 跟伊讲。你若去台湾，因为 George Thomas 对台湾相当了解。伊讲你若去台湾的是，唔通，敢若较要紧，就要去听台湾当地人讲，听因的心声。迄个时阵，伊甲介绍讲，你若去台湾，有一个传教士叫 Don Wilson， 相当知影台湾，所以你爱去找伊。所以经来到台湾了后，经过这个 Don Wilson， 甲介绍。一个真杰出的人，迄就是皮明敏教授。迄阵才开始办。皮明敏教授是红家去关，迄阵才出来。因开始拄着了后，就愈讲愈投机啦。伊才感觉讲对台湾的情形真同情，对代志会了解愈多。到尾皮明敏教授的学生，迄个沙聪敏甲规定条。出来，伊继续，所以安尼了解真济啦。伫迄个中间，伊慢慢感觉讲，这个片教授伫台湾情形愈来愈危险。甚至有人有这个警告讲，你反正你自己行出去，会叫车撞死。这就是讲，这咱知影讲国民党用迄个步，因为咱过去知影一寡人是安尼过身的。所以伊迄阵才想讲要安怎，要互皮教授出来。当然，因两个毋是讲专门迄个这方面的，总是因大家想来想去，看咧利用渔船甲出去。毋过伊这么想出来讲，你若要渔船，你还要拜托人，拜托2、3个人，就互人迄个愈多人知影，这个危险性愈大。所以迄阵。安尼在讲有其实伊就在讲这个白色恐怖 啊，伊小可有讲起，讲台湾报纸拢差不多拢袂当自由看，啊，定然伊摕到美国报纸拢加几啊起来，啊，伊定然拢爱去美国大使馆，共照迄个国家的新闻看，总是有一摆这个新闻无叫假的，伫迄个美国的 Time Magazine 内底写讲当地一个少年人偷走出来洗掉，你拢知影当地要出来洗掉无遐简单。真巧就是讲，利用洗掉的人去当地去旅行的时，惊讲伊的护照拍过，啊，就护照迄个，啊，就用上大大，真诶，迄个当地人出来了，洗掉的人再去报讲伊passport拍过，啊，这个就是评告写出来，诶，这个关键。啊，我看了一本书是，我感觉讲哇，这有影足厉害。因为上好上的就是人袂去想到，总是真好。我相信讲恁爱知影详细，恁赶紧去看。另外一边也是足感谢这个 Amnesty International， 咱认为是安怎讲 ？Amnesty International， 就是迄个吼有真正有甲帮忙，所以这是伊讲的。下边这个。唐牧师Thornberry牧师是讲的，伊头就是甲来讲，伊对新队讲到一句咱台湾人在写下来，就是好啦。啊，就今日伊足感谢咱看得出来。啊，我嘛对你Dr. Thornberry we tell you 落来。伊从头开始，伊就讲到讲，伊隔壁有一个95岁的查某人，啊，差不多目睭拢无啥看，所以伊拢爱去因兜甲读书会听。啊，所以伊开始读这个，伊最近写的这个《Fireproof Moth》这本册好读。啊，这个老查某人甲问讲，啊，你这个情形，你知影讲你遐尼危险，啊，你讲我有囝。啊！你看唔造出来，这就是伊个这个查某人甲问的。啊，当然有当时啊，真好答应，总是伊讲出真水贵的话啦。伊讲，你若有一真好的朋友，真亲的朋友，啊，因遮的朋友若真正有生命危险时，你敢要放我甲走？咱大方有迄个良心的人，大家拢会了解到处，这就是伊的迄个答案。伊开始讲到这个比较是到阵，伊是讲要紧就是你知影讲，迄个时阵特务缀来缀去，所以比较是要来找伊，还是讲以后伊学生来找伊，毋是讲遐个简单，拢总是爱想来想去啊，安怎吵来，啊，总是我看书吼。我本出来在足奇怪，就是他们到底足侪摆，所以我每次讲这个题目无看到，啊，当然另外一边感觉我个题目可能是互相作用。啊，这个因是伫60岁迄阵发表迄个台湾自救运动宣言，啊，伫印刷厂掠去。啊，总是比较是成出来，所以伊小摆。啊，到尾啊，这个伊两个学生也出来。啊，我伊是足钦佩讲，这两个学生吼，写成是伊个讲是 Tony， 啊，迄个规定条伊个讲是 Matthew， 伊伫家内底有法度通甲别个家的人安怎通话，啊，写是足薄的纸，啊，毋知安怎扭出来，啊，就这个纸伊有法度通。去联络这个 Amnesty International 公开，啊，所以这个机关对国民政府开始有压力，所以因对这个犯人较唔敢讲遐尼坏啦，也开始有在注意，所以这感觉讲这是真好的事。啊，伊讲到这个规定条，伊是讲伊成绩。足强的，啊！去家内底安尼，莫加起来 安尼讲，你若变，你甲我拍死，你安尼甲我直接甲我靠到，总是帮人来个引导的时，帮对迄个感觉出来，一个帮人来个引导的时，甲伊的查某囝坐咧安尼耍，所以会感觉讲，即个人对我足强，总是伊嘛是足好的，足好的心。有这样代志，我是感觉讲，咱普通讲起来，讲是敢若即个伫教授造出来的代志，总是以后更较大的代志，就是讲伊含即个查聪明，咱规定条斗阵做一个代志，就是讲对美国共收人寄付的现金，对香港走出入去台湾，再经过这两个手去送互遐关于家家内底遐人的家族。你知影讲，你若有人从政治犯关，伊咧家族生活无好过，头路嘛就歹出。所以这样代志，我伫资内底看伊继续做足侪年，我是感觉这是足伟大的代志。伊是你讲这个1970这个1月吼。伊教授走出来，迄个时阵，伊伫资内底讲，美国政府其实是向当时是，甲国民政府真为国民政府，所以无讲真注重伫听台湾人的声，这是真可惜的代志。你若看资你会当接受什么？伫1970年2月23日，因国民党掠去。甲强制讲爱离开，迄个时阵，迄落国无偌久以后，这个夏先生甲规先生嘛互掠，不过因是真有办法，迄种家内底遐物件送出来，经过把媒体送去这个Amnesty International， 会当互因知影，当时这个评教授出来。伊是有台湾人、有日本人、也有香港的人，也有Amnesty International甲斗出，所以伊对香港出来了，将来去到瑞典，就会当得到这个assignment。搁在伊个写信时，搁寄出迄个真要紧的迄个消息出来，结果伫1970年，伫个 New York Times 有甲公布。就这个代志有影，互国民党真见爽。出来了，这两位嘛是继续为着台湾在做吼，为着公布这个White Terror 白色恐怖的代志，还是讲这个规先生继续做这个台湾写这个台湾的真悬的报告。最后，伊是讲一个故事吼，伊是讲1964年要伫波士顿咧读册时，伊伫波士顿报纸看到讲 New York Queens 一个所在吼，一个查某人或者 Kitty Genovese 吼，去互一个人用刀甲刣，这个差不多30分钟。伫迄个所在住附近遐宿舍遐人，看无一个人敢落去。无一个人落去甲斗去甲救，甚至甲这个甲刣人走，想讲这个还未死，搁转来，搁刣，刣甲死了，因才叫警察。所以这个就是讲，伊所讲叫做，这是一个国家真人民的一个建设的所在。这就是讲旁观者的这个代志哦。这款的，你若知影讲人有这危险。你跟别安尼去甲斗出，伊就讲这3位吼，平教授甲因的学生，伊知影阮台湾在艰苦，台湾人在艰苦，伊甘愿冒着伊家己性命安尼出来，安尼这是真正有迄个勇气的人啦。伊讲着讲最近伫犹他是有写迄个车甲这个摩托车撞着。 啊，一个人伫迄个车骹啊插烧，啊，拄啊有一个人看到讲车骹有一个人，啊，迄个人还佫活啦，所以经喊救人，啊，有几个人来吼，8个人其中有2个查某人，啊，将迄烧烧的车甲卷起来吼，就甲迄个人跑出送去。啊，这个就是迄个1964年，伫迄个纽约发生的倒变，所以这是感觉讲，这咱做人迄个良心应该爱安尼做。啊，伊主要是讲，虽然是这个皮教授是对基督教家庭出来，总是普通时啊宗教无讲较真济。啊，谢聪敏也是基督教家庭，那个无啥咧讲。总是伊这代志为着台湾人艰苦这代志做出来，其实是比讲伫教会所听到遐道理所做的吼，较有真正有代表这个耶稣的精神。
Thank you, Dr. Ye. You know, Dr. Judith and Dr. Milo, you guys make us feel that we were not alone in struggling against the dictatorships. Thanks for what you did to help the political prisoner, to help the Dr. Pence, to help Taiwanese people. We love you from our bottom of our heart. 敬多下。Next one is question and answer. So we only have about 10 minutes. So please, if you have any question, please come forward. We can save some time.
How did they find you? How did they get you?
We really don't know for sure. There was an incident that Milo talks about in the book at the end where someone apparently tried to use us as couriers to take some chemicals in. And I was the person who ended up getting involved in that. That is, a friend of ours, a Taiwanese man, invited Milo to come and have lunch with him and meet a Japanese friend who had a gift for him. Milo couldn't do it, he had a meeting, so I showed up, big belly, and there was some confusion. The Japanese man never showed up, and our Taiwanese friend had this gift, a box for us, but because the Japanese man didn't show up, our Taiwanese friend said, I don't think it's appropriate for me to give it to you. It was pretty common for us to accept letters or packages, to give to, before he left, to Peter, or to give to Mr. Xie, or, that kind of thing. So I think if the Taiwanese friend had handed it to me, I probably would have taken it. But I didn't take it because he didn't give it to me. And we were told later that the Japanese man had been arrested, not quite sure why, we don't really know all the details, but that it turned out that the package that was supposed to be given to us had some chemicals in it that could have been used to make explosives. And so I don't know whether, it's still again murky. We think that there may have been some reference to our name associated with it, or the Japanese man may have had our name. What I know is that when I left the Taiwanese gentleman's house, this was Mr. Yan, who was the head of the Printers Union at the time, lived downtown near Ximending. When I left his house, he lived in one of those modern Taiwan, 3-story houses. When I left the house and walked out, there was a strange person in a suit that just, if you live in Taiwan long enough, you learn certain look of a certain suit that made me think, why is he standing in the place where, you know, the little person who is the concierge who sort of takes care of things, why is he there? And I walked out the door and I just thought to myself, I wonder if this is all related. I wonder if something's going on. Maybe I'm being followed. And so I tell you, I don't know where. I think that if the CIA had had any sense, they would have recruited me, because I just had funny instincts that way. So it was since February, late February, I had on a coat and I had a scarf. And those of you who know Taipei know what it's like still, I think, to some extent in certain areas of Taipei. You know, the shops are under the little underpass thing, you know, there's a shop there and then the building is above. And I was walking down the street and I noticed there was a shop that was selling mirrors. So I just walked up to the mirror and put my scarf on and watched behind me. And suddenly there was a small young woman. I saw her going. And then she saw me standing there, and she ducked behind one of the pillars. And that was, to me, an indication I was being followed. And so I took about 3 taxis to get home. We lived, it was there. We lived at the seminary at that time, at the theology school, which was up Yangshan. And we didn't get followed, but we sort of knew something. And then, shortly after that, several men in suits started standing outside the entrance to the theology college. And that's the next thing we knew. The one thing we are quite certain they never knew before they kicked us out, or for many years, was that we were involved in helping Peng Ming-Min get out. If they had known that, I don't think they would have let us go so easily.
The last chapter in the book tells what we know and can document. We do not think, however, that that's the last word on this, and there are a couple of scholars who now are actually looking into this question, and we hope we may know some more later.
Next question.
I'm interested in what happened that day. I mean, he disguised himself as a Japanese reviewer. The husband watched how he get out. You have somebody?
No, that's part of the wonderful part of the story.
Do you have somebody look alive to get in the house first?
No. What Peter discovered fairly early on was that his guards were lazy. Like so much of the way things worked in Taiwan, those of you who've been know, they were supposed to watch him 24 hours. And he lived, you know, in the university district in a Japanese house, those of you who again remember that, what they're like, with walls. And like so many of those areas, there was what we called a squatter shack on the corner. That is a little shack that had been built on the wall by somebody illegally. They used to stay in that squatter shack, and that's how they watched him. And if he did walk out during the day, he would be followed. But what he gradually discovered was that if he left very early in the morning, like 5 o'clock, or returned after midnight, they would not know he was gone. So he was able to manipulate that. He would, when he knew he was leaving, he started staying in and not going out a lot. And that's when he grew the beard and sort of experimented with it. Then he shaved the beard off and went out several times. So they saw him and they knew he was there. And he made a trip actually down to Kaohsiung to see his mother. And he documents that in his book because she was very disturbed because of the way he was acting. She was afraid he was going to kill himself. And he was simply, he knew he was saying goodbye and not sure he would see her again. but he was not obviously planning to kill himself, but he did that, and so gradually the guards just dropped their guard, if you will, and just assumed he was there. And I'll let you pick up on that part of the story, because the most fun part of that is after he actually left and they didn't know he'd gone.
He was gone for 3 weeks before they knew it. And before he released, he actually had a press conference in Stockholm, and the KMT had denied earlier that he was gone, and what they were relying on were these daily receipts that they had from the guards who said, okay, on this day we followed him to Elam, and this day he went to Kaohsiung, and they were collecting train fare for that and the food fare for it. We learned that the head of that bureau was never heard from again after they learned. At first, they denied it, but then they realized that they had made a terrible mistake, the government had made, in claiming that they didn't know. They claimed that he had flown out with the CIA or something, but the fact was that the head of that security department disappeared, and I don't think was ever heard from again. The guards themselves went to prison. That's what happened to them.
Okay, I wish we could have more questions, but I think time is up, 9 o'clock already. We want to present, just a second, we want to present Dr. Judith Thomas and Dr. Milo Thornberry special award. First is from Hua 3 chapters. I want to ask Bob Young, Professor Bob Young, to come up here to present the award to both Judith and Milo. And the next one, we are going to have a special award from Congressman Edwards. May I have a Judith from Congressman Edwards' office here? Oh, you did first. Yes. So
on behalf of Congressman Edwards, I want to thank you, Papa and 1-1, so much for having me here today. He wanted me to deliver a short message to you, and that is Taiwan has been a longtime friend and ally to the United States. We have many similar values from both a democratic and an economic standpoint. Therefore, we need to ensure that this relationship remains strong. Whether it is through pursuing bilateral free trade agreements between Taiwan and the United States to strengthen economic ties, or honoring our promise to Taiwan with the military capabilities of F-16 so they can continue to promote peace and security in the region, Congressman Royce will continue to work on these issues. And with that said, I want to present the Certificate of Congressional Recognition to both Judith Thomas and Milo Thornberry for Representative Edwards of California, 40th Congressional District, is pleased to join the Formosa American Public Affairs of Orange County in offering his sincere appreciation for your decades of service as a Methodist missionary, for your contribution to Taiwan's democracy and human rights in the late 1960s, and for your continued interest and concern for the future of Taiwan.
encourage you to buy this book, Milo book. Typically, Milo go to bed early, but with his permission, he's willing to stay late and sign the book for you. And I think this is something we can appreciate in a small token. So if you haven't bought book yet, especially this book is not only for you, but for your children, for your grandchildren, to remember the part of the Taiwan history. So please, if you haven't bought yet, stay here. Okay, so with that in mind, I think the program is going to be ending here. And so I hope you enjoy it.